My wife poured a glass of wine, looked at me across the kitchen island, and said, "I had the procedure done yesterday, Mark. I'm sterile. No kids." I froze, the knife hovering over the vegetables I was chopping. "It's my body," she added, aggressive and defensive all at once, "and I'm done pretending I want a trap." I didn't yell. I didn't throw the knife. I placed it gently on the cutting board, walked past her, and went upstairs to pack. I'm a 34-year-old architect. My entire existence is based on structural integrity, load-bearing walls, and long-term vision. You don't start building a skyscraper if you know the foundation is cracked. You condemn the site, and you move on. For 7 years, Vanessa, 32, and I had a blueprint. It wasn't just a vague hope, it was a detailed schematic. We met in grad school. On our first date, I told her I wanted a legacy. 4 kids, a chaotic dinner table, a house full of noise. She told me she wanted the same. We mapped it out. 3 years of aggressive saving, 2 years of travel, buy the forever home, and then at age 31, start the family. We followed the schedule religiously. I worked 60-hour weeks to fast-track partner status at my firm. We traveled to Thailand, Italy, and Peru. 8 months ago, we bought a sprawling, dilapidated Victorian farmhouse that I plan to restore with my own hands. I spent every weekend sanding floors and rewiring electricity, fueled by the image of a toddler stumbling down the hallway. When Vanessa dropped her bomb, we were 3 months away from the start trying date on our timeline. "Mark, say something," she snapped, following me into the bedroom as I pulled a suitcase from the closet. "Stop being so dramatic. We can still be happy. We have money, we have freedom. Why ruin a marriage over a hypothetical child?" I turned to her, folding a shirt with military precision. "It's not about the child, Vanessa. It's about the lie. You didn't wake up yesterday and decide this. You've known. You watched me spend 4 months sanding the nursery floorboards on my knees, and you said nothing. You let me build a stage for a play you never intended to act in." "I changed my mind," she shouted. "And you had the right to," I said, zipping the back. "But you didn't have the right to run out the clock on my life because you were afraid I'd leave. That's not partnership. That's entrapment." I filed for divorce the next morning. The fallout was nuclear. Vanessa spun a narrative that I was a misogynistic breeder who viewed her as nothing more than an incubator. Her friends rallied. Social media was awash with vague posts about men who want control. I stayed silent. I focused on the logistics. The house was the main issue. She wanted to keep it, ironic considering it was a 5-bedroom family home she now had no use for. I fought her for it, but not for the reasons she thought. I wanted to sell it. I couldn't look at the place. In the end, we settled. We sold the house, split the equity, and I took the one thing that mattered to me. A hand-carved rocking horse I had spent 6 months whittling from walnut wood. It was a masterpiece, detailed down to the individual hairs on the mane. Vanessa laughed when I insisted on it in the settlement. "Take the toy," she sneered during mediation. "It's the only kid you'll ever have." The only person from her side who didn't treat me like a pariah was her younger sister, Chloe, 28F. Chloe was the antithesis of Vanessa. Where Vanessa was sharp edges and high ambition, Chloe was soft, a kindergarten teacher who wore paint-stained cardigans and actually listened when people spoke. About 2 months after the separation, I ran into her at a bookstore. I expected her to ignore me or make a scene. Instead, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I told her she had to tell you. I told her a year ago." That admission broke me a little. "She knew for a year?" Chloe nodded. "She was terrified you'd leave. I told her that lying was worse. I'm so sorry, Mark." We went for coffee. It was innocent at first. We were 2 people mourning the same loss. Me, my marriage. Her, the relationship with a sister who had become unrecognizable in her bitterness. Chloe was the one who helped me find a new apartment. She helped me move the heavy boxes, including the crate containing the rocking horse. "It's beautiful," she said, running her hand over the smooth wood of the horse. "You made this? For a ghost," I said bitterly. "No," she corrected me, looking me in the eye. "For the future. It just hasn't arrived yet." The romance didn't happen all at once. It was a slow build, a structurally sound renovation of two damaged lives. We started cooking dinner together. We went for long drives. We realized that our values didn't just align, they interlined perfectly. Chloe wanted the noise, the chaos, the family. She wanted the life I had designed, not because I designed it, but because it was her dream too. 6 months after my divorce was finalized, Chloe and I made it official. When Vanessa found out, she went scorched earth. She called our parents, she called mutual friends, she accused me of grooming her sister, of incest, technically impossible, but logic wasn't her strong suit, of doing it solely to hurt her. Her parents, formidable and terrified of scandal, sided with Vanessa. They cut Chloe off. They uninvited her from Thanksgiving. They told her she was choosing a stranger over blood. It hurt Chloe deeply, but it also steeled her resolve. We became an island. We eloped in October, a small ceremony in the mountains. No guests, just the officiant and the witnesses. It was the happiest day of my life. Then came the positive test. It was fast, much faster than the plan would have dictated, but I threw the plan out the window. We were over the moon. We decided to keep it secret until we were out of the danger zone. Then came the summons. Vanessa's grandmother, the matriarch who held the purse strings for the entire family trust, demanded everyone attend the annual Christmas Eve gala. Vanessa's parents tried to tell Chloe she wasn't welcome, but the grandmother overruled them. "Family is family," she reportedly said. "Bring the architect." We walked into the lion's den at 6 p.m. The house was decked out in gold and velvet. Vanessa was there, holding court with a new boyfriend, some investment banker who looked bored. When she saw us, her eyes narrowed into slits. She looked great, expensive dress, perfect hair, but there was a brittleness to her. Her parents refused to look at us. They took our coats in silence. The tension was so thick you could choke on it. We endured 2 hours of cocktail chatter. Vanessa made several loud, pointed comments about freedom and how wonderful it was to not be tied down. "We're going to Bali next month," she announced to the room, clutching the banker's arm. "Spontaneity is just so underrated. Some people settle for domestic drudgery, but I just couldn't imagine giving up my youth." She looked directly at me when she said it. I just sipped my drink and smiled. Then came the gift exchange. We had brought a single gift for her parents. It was a peace offering, but also a declaration. "We have something for you," Chloe said, her voice shaking slightly. She handed a small, heavy box to her mother. Her mother opened it warily. She pulled out a wooden block. It was a small, hand-carved rattle made from the same walnut wood as the rocking horse. Beside it was a framed ultrasound photo. The silence that followed was instant and absolute. Her mother gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Her father stared at the image, his face losing all its hardness. "Is this?" her mother stammered. "June," I said, my voice steady. "It's a boy." The sound that came out of Vanessa wasn't human. It was a strangled noise like a glass shattering under pressure. She dropped her wine glass. Red Shiraz splattered across the white rug, but no one looked down. "You're kidding," Vanessa hissed, her face contorting. "You're pregnant? Now? You've been together for 5 minutes." "We've been married for 3 months," Chloe said softly. She reached out and took my hand. "And we're happiness. We're so happy." Vanessa looked around the room, desperate for an ally. She looked at her parents, expecting them to be outraged, but she had miscalculated. Her parents were old-fashioned. They were angry about the divorce, yes, but the prospect of a first grandchild, that was a gravitational force they couldn't resist. I saw the resolve in her mother's eyes crumble. She looked from Vanessa, sterile by choice and bitter, to Chloe, glowing and carrying the family line. "A boy?" her father asked, his voice thick. "A boy," I confirmed. "This is disgusting," Vanessa screamed, the veneer of the cool, traveling aunt completely dissolving. "He's doing this to spite me. He just replaced me with the spare. It's a revenge baby." "It's a family, Vanessa," I said, cutting through her hysteria. "It's the family you didn't want. You made your choice. You chose the trips and the silence and the clean white carpets. Enjoy them. But don't be angry that we chose the mess and the noise." I turned to her parents. "We aren't asking for money. We don't need your approval. But this is your grandson. If you want to know him, You know where we live. If not, this is the last time you'll see us." We turned to leave. Vanessa was sobbing now, shouting at the banker to take her home, but he was awkwardly checking his phone, clearly realizing he had stepped into a minefield. As we walked to the car, the snow was starting to fall. It was cold, but I felt a fire in my chest. Chloe was trembling, the adrenaline crashing. "Do you think they'll call?" she asked as I started the engine. "I think the phone will ring before we get out of the driveway," I said. I was right. It was her mother. We let it go to voicemail. Tonight, I'm in the nursery of our new house. A smaller place, a fixer-upper, but it's ours. The walls are painted a soft sage green. The walnut rocking horse is in the corner, waiting. I'm sanding the railing of the crib I'm building. Vanessa posted a photo today from the airport, a picture of a champagne glass in the first-class lounge with the caption, "Living my best life." But I heard from a mutual friend that she spent the entire flight crying in the bathroom. I don't hate her, truly. I just feel nothing. She was a draft I scrapped, a concept that didn't work. I look at Chloe, asleep in the chair with her hand on her stomach, and I realize that the first plan wasn't the master plan. It was just the rough sketch you throw away to make room for the masterpiece. And looking at the rocking horse, finally ready for a rider, I know this construction is built to last.